Welcome back to our show, your show. Let's Talk Stocks. Of course, the journey continues. The excitement is always in this studio. We couldn't do it in one show. So Cavaughn is back to tell us about the evolving industry called photography and videography. And of course, he's throwing a little bit of drone in there. Hey, Cavaughn, interesting question. Do you think our policymakers have missed the boat in terms of how we've educated our populace to create wealth? Because you yourself, you went through the system as you were taught. Your parents would have been proud of you to go through and become a teacher, big and honorable profession. But you walked away to become a creative.
Yeah.
But pretty much any corner you go in Jamaica, any street side, you find creative juices flowing. Are we missing the boat in terms of the ability to develop the creative talents of Jamaica? The creative industry is a $1 trillion, it's a $1 trillion US industry.
Yeah.
Are we as leaders, policymakers, missing the boat in terms of the real skill sets of our people?
Right, I agree. Well, my answer would be yes. I think we've missed it, and missed it in the sense that we are too narrow in our thinking. So I said to you that I was teaching robotics, and the reason for robotics is to literally move, not just robotics, but STEM education, is to move away from this idea of standardized testing where you go through this rigorous one way of thinking, and you realize that if you've spoken to young people through the COVID period, they realize that why should I be, and I'm not hitting education or the system on a whole, but I think
maybe we need to hit it,
and
don't apologize for it.
We need to critique it and deconstruct some things so that people can find purpose in life. You mentioned a lot of young people at certain corners or certain places, and you realize that. I remember going to get food, and this guy was carving out names on the packet thing, and you're like, but he's here, nobody sees him. But he has a talent that is a selling point for society, and you just realize that there's not much extensive investment in
exactly.
these areas.
Listen, why I say we ought to critique it. The Bank of Japan, one of the governors of the Bank of Japan, last month, Japan has moved from negative interest rates, and they're now, I think they're closer to 1%. The system is changing.
Yeah.
And he was saying that we expect salaries to continue raising. We need to try and manage inflation. But the reason for that, and Japan is big on technology, the reason for that is that the behavior of the work world has changed post-COVID.
Yeah.
Less people are available for regular employment. And that's Japan.
Yeah.
No, but you are a depiction of exactly what he spoke about here in Jamaica. But I'm wondering, our policymakers, have they seen that?
I don't think they have. I don't think they, and even if they have, it's not.
They're not acting
They're
on
not
it.
right. They're not fixed on making it viable. Like speaking to it where you create spaces for people to not just be creative, but you have a whole training, education,
and not just
investment.
tokenism, where we do a little one thing and we make it look like we've done the work.
Yeah.
You spoke to Cavaughn the importance of the artist and his style in the finished product. What is your style?
Well, for photography, I try to push a kind of feel. So I always want to tap into emotions. So if I'm taking a picture of you, for example, I don't want it to be bland. I want to first.
I can't be bland, by the way.
Firstly, I don't want to connect with you, interpersonal connection, and then try to get you to exude a particular emotion that I would want to capture, and then pray that my skill set would be able to capture the moment, and then that moment sells the emotion. So whoever else is seeing that image or so on will have a idea of what I was getting. So it tells a whole story from start to finish, and the picture just in a picture, right? So my most fond love right now is to take live events. For in live events, you tend to get an artist in their most expressive and also most vulnerable place. So the artist that's performing is maybe in an ecstatic moment because he wrote a lyric or she wrote a lyric and it's expressing it, connecting with the people. But the people who are watching don't see the singular moment, and I think my responsibility and duty is to capture a singular moment that if somebody goes back to seeing that image, it is like...
That's very deep, though.
Yeah, so that's what I'm most leaning in toward, to your question.
And so so for you, it's not just... And that then combines both the photographer and the videographer into one work.
Yes.
And you then be able to put that out to the viewer.
Right. That's really it. And it's as a creative, it is satisfying when, even if nobody sees it, when you go back to see it, I'm satisfied, like, ooh, like I get the same thrill. You know, like somebody does skydiving and it's like, them reach and you wonder, so why you do that? And he's saying it's for his thing there. And you're like, so for me it's like that, where I can get a mood or a vibe or a feel of an image. And also my editing as well. To second part of answering.
It's interesting. So we've been speaking about your photography, your videography, but you also do editing, as you mentioned that.
Right.
Talk to me about how the other skills come to bear on your editing, because again, you have your own style. There are things you want to see. You editing your own work. I mean,
I would start by saying it's a learning curve for me, where it takes the time and effort to understand what you're doing, and then also being open and flexible to adopt and pull from different places into this one, you can say a process of producing something. So if I'm videoing an artist performing a song, for example, you're depending on so much things. You're depending on the song that the artist is performing. You're depending on your skill set, the idea you have, the vision, and you're pulling all of that together, and then you're now on the roll in terms of the editing process to bring that out in a final package, I would say. I remember doing Reggae Sumfest, and I had this idea of trying to make the images move, and I was trying to figure out, like, how do I make that happen? And I did some research, and I also had the images and the quality of the images as well, and you're like, you can't just let that go to waste. And so I put all of the thoughts, the vision, the know-how into one, and how it came out, you're like, ooh, at the end of the day, and I was satisfied with it. Like, you're like, this is good. This is good stuff. And so that's how that's how it goes for me. So my editing process is now understanding how to take what is the raw content and bring it to a final product that's maybe marketable or for display.
Listening to you, you seem to in your short time already have been able to work with some major people in Jamaica, work on major productions. How have you managed to get there so quickly?
Well, I would say I'm still on the ascend, but I can say this in short response. I remember going to an event, and a particular person, a major musician, saw me and said to me, "Ace, you're masterful." I'm like, like somebody says something to you and it just gives you affirmation. That was the moment for me. But how I got in the space, I think it's just me being consistent, me loving what I do, and the work speaking for itself. That got, let's say, people reaching out and like contacting and also seeing the beauty of what I produce, and got the opportunity to work alongside and people who are in the industry to even do like BTS of certain artists and stuff like
BTS
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is coming on more and more. Up to Monday of this week, I got the chance to help out on a work with a particular artist out here. So yeah.
All right, talk to me about having gone into this business, the creative space, the business of the creatives. I mean, we've already said it's $1 trillion industry worldwide. But how has that been for you? How do you see that business, that industry as a whole?
Well, to create is one thing, but to earn from your creativity is another thing. And for me, I wanted to figure out, and still trying to figure out, how do I properly construct the business side where it becomes viable, where it becomes what puts bread on my table and stuff. And so trying to market myself, trying to make sure that some ends are covered where the business side is concerned, how I tailor my prices, the value that I bring and the prices to match the value, etc. has been, what you call it now, my water in my feet in that.
It's interesting you went there. Again, with creatives especially, and generally, people tend not to value your work at the value that the price that it should come.
Yeah.
And so how difficult is it to say to a client, well, look, this is the value that I'm bringing to the table, or this is the value that you will end up with as the final product, and get them to appreciate and want to pay that value?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with you remaining professional. Like, know your worth before you even start.
Okay.
And that has been something I'm trying to stick to, because I find a few things happening here where, because you want to create, it can trump your, or it can cause you to devalue the quality of the work you produce. And I remember having to turn down works because the price did not fit and the negotiation was difficult to have. And even one of recent was very major for me, which would have been good in terms of the earning aspect, but at the same time, I would have been exhausted while still even cutting cost. And so I was like, no, this can't, this not going to worth it. And believe in the fact that what you produce will also attract new clientele.
Yes.
So I'm always for that. Like, you don't get it today, you get it tomorrow. My grandmother would tell you that. And so for me, that's...
Is this a business that you'd recommend for young Jamaicans coming up, leaving high school, coming out of college? This is an industry that can pay the bills.
Of course. And even before I say yes to the question, I realize that from my vantage point, there's a lot of young persons who literally come to me with the intention of wanting to, either they're attracted by what I'm doing and the work and stuff, or they just have a knack and a taste for it. And so I believe so. I know of people who are ahead of me in the game that their only source of income is photography. And you're like, yeah, it's a viable industry.
As we look to wrap, Cavaughn, what is it that you'd want to leave on the minds of the viewers? acepxl, Cavaughn Edwards.
Yes. Well, I would want to say firstly that, which is a mantra that I go by, it's actually two things: that you, one, be a resource for the resourceless, but all in all, be resourceful. And I think that we, as a people, as a culture, have so much in us to offer, and until we tap into and understand that, we will come to the point where, we are a cut above the rest. And that's one of my encouragement. The next is, as a creative, I say this to myself, that I should not let my output exceed my intake, or else my upkeep will be my downfall. So I always try to ensure that I have more in me than the amount I give out of me. And if I feel tired or empty, I rest. And my encouragement is from that vantage point. And yeah.
Very big words there from Cavaughn. Cavaughn, where can you be contacted if the viewers need your services?
All right, for sure. On Instagram and YouTube, the same handle. That's ACE_PXL. So you search that on Instagram, you search that on YouTube. And my contact is 876-344-2420. And everything else is on my page.
Right, there you go. Cavaugh Edwards is CEO and founder of acepxl. I say a picture tells 1,000 words. Well, we've been talking a lot of words here. But as we always say on Let's Talk Stocks, we give you information to make better financial decisions. Come back with us tomorrow morning at 9. Have another insightful program lined up for you.